Good morning and welcome to Sharing Lives with IJ. And what life am I sharing today? I wanted to share an experience that I feel will benefit a lot of people, especially people who are either about to get married or people who have gotten married, but maybe they haven't moved on to the next step of having children. I feel that it's important to make a difference between getting married and having children. Unfortunately, in so many societies, those two words, being married and having children, are the same word. And I'm here to tell you that they shouldn't be the same word. They should not be the same in the sense that before you get married, you're courting or you're dating, however you want to term that. And then you get to a point where you decide to get married. And so you get married. So you moved on from the stage of dating to being married. And many people overlook or underestimate the change. Now, when you get married, things change, relationships change. There are so many things that maybe you didn't notice before, but now that you're married, those things will begin to show their heads, whether they're pretty heads or they're ugly heads. But they become evident. And it's either they were there all the time, but you didn't notice them, or they just were not there because people were still working towards, getting married. And now they're getting married, they have relaxed a little bit. And so some of these characters or attributes or habits show up. And sometimes it's a surprise to us, or it takes us by surprise and we're not ready for it. And so these are some of the things that can happen once you're married, that you need to make sure that you sort those things out, you resolve them before you go ahead and have children. When you have children, it's an irreversible situation. You can't go back on yourself. You can't unhave kids. Once you have kids, they're here to stay forever. So it's very important that you're ready before you have them, or that if there are any issues in the relationship that you need to find solutions to, or you need to resolve, that you work hard and make sure that those are done before you have children. What I'm saying is that when you do have children, you want to make sure that you land on your feet, that you don't land on your head, because that can happen when you go and have children and there's some problems that you hadn't resolved or you didn't even realize were there until you have kids. And the pressures of having children and maybe working and whatever that goes with that, things begin to appear very challenging. And if you didn't really think hard about those things, that can be quite damaging to the relationship. So what I'm saying now is that when you do get married, please have some time to yourselves. If you can manage a year or more, please do that. At the very least, 6 months. The reason why I'm saying this is that within that time, it's just the two of you, no distractions. It's probably just the two of you with your normal day to day activities, going to work and whatnot. And that gives you time to actually get used to the fact that it's just the two of you. And if there are any issues that are going to show up, they'll be evident and you can seek solutions before those kids arrive. Let me give you an example. I actually had a friend who, um, the husband was so particular about not wanting children to eat in, maybe not wanting children to eat it, but not wanting anyone to eat in his car. They had white leather sofas. Now tell me who has white leather sofas when they have children. But they did. And so it was kind of living the bachelors and the bachelorettes or the single people's lives where, white sofas and spotless, and you clean once a week and it stays clean for weeks. And now you're having children and you didn't even realize that that can be a problem. So what happened was, as soon as the children arrived, the kids were not allowed to eat in the car. He did not want the children to eat in the car. She could not understand why you wouldn't allow your kids to eat in the car. But all the signs were evident before they even had children, because of the fact that they were living the single life, no kids. Everything was white. Everything was very, very kind of bachelor like before they had children. And no one even thought about, oh, we can't do this forever. and they just carried on. And eventually it caused problems because the kids weren't allowed to eat in the car. I mean, if you have kids, or if your kids are young, you know that they have to have their snacks. And if you're traveling, you're going on a road trip, you can't say don't have snacks in the car, because that's just unrealistic. And you can't stop so that the kids can just have a bag of chips or a bag of crisps. That's ridiculous. So these are the things that you have to think about. If you had to make changes, if it is you that has that kind of issue, you have to get to a point where you realize, okay, I'm going to have children and I can't do this. Then those are the things that you need to consider before those kids arrive. That's just an example that maybe it's not that deep, but there's so many things that you have to think about. Another example is, if you like to go out with your friends, maybe you could still do that before the children. Maybe you could still do that before the children arrived. Maybe you had girls' nights out, and your husband or the guy had his own time with his friends. And now, when the kids come, you should know that you can't do that. You need to be at home. If your wife has had just delivered babies, you need to be at home to support her. You need to be able to give her some time so that she can at least catch up on some sleep. If she's at home, maybe during maternity leave, and you're still working, you have to make that time out to let her have a break. But if you continue to live that single person's life when you shouldn't, that's going to cause problems. That's going to cause a lot of resentment. So these are the things that you need to think about, especially for young people. Get married. If you meet someone and everything is perfect, well, not perfect, you can never have perfection, but if you get to a point where you feel or you believe that this is the right thing for you to do, go ahead and do that. You don't have to have children immediately. That's what I feel. You can have a year or 2 years, depending on what you want or how old you people are, before you have children. And that's a wonderful time. You can't get that time back, because like I said, we all know that children are here to stay. And before you can have that time back, it's way, way, way in the future. You're talking about maybe as old as I am now, the children have all gone. That's the only time that you get to be by yourself. And of course, you're older. There are certain things that you could have done at the time that you can't do at this point, that, it's not practical for you to do at this point. But unfortunately, if you didn't do it then this is the only other time that you can do it. And so tell me what you think in the comment section. Do you think that I'm right in thinking that you should have some time between when you got married and when you have children to build a solid relationship ready for the kids to come? Until my next video, I'll see you soon. Goodbye.